Welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Podcast, hosted by CRM technology and sales process expert Christopher Smith, talking with sales leaders that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Listen to find out how the best of the best achieve success with their team and CRM technology. And remember, unless you are the lead dog, the view never changes.
Welcome to Sales Lead Dog. Today on this episode, we are very pleased to have joining us John Lund of MYB2BCOACH. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be on it.
John, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and about MYB2BCOACH.
Sure. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had a few different companies in my life. And the first two I always say failed nicely because they didn't bankrupt me. And then, but I learned a lot. In fact, the first one is my first time in sales. I was selling, for the younger people in the audience, I won't remember these. For the older people, they will. Vinyl telephone book covers. It protected your big Yellow Pages telephone book. And I had to sell ads to dentists and chiropractors. And I had to walk straight in while they were working on somebody and say, I need you to spend $500 with an ad, and learned how to sell there.
Right.
My large company, though, was Offwire mobile phone distribution company. Had to learn how to sell and grow. We grew that over 19 years and sold to a large distribution company about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Then I got to take 2 years off of really learning more about myself, really studying. I'm a huge fan of small business, medium business. I like working with small and mid-sized businesses. I'm an implementer of strategy planning. So I was handling 10 or 15 of my clients there. And just the common theme I saw of, I had as a frustration with salespeople. All of my EO friends, I'm in the entrepreneurs organizations. I have hundreds of them. They're frustrated with salespeople. When I started talking to salespeople, they're frustrated with their owners because they're like, hey, I didn't go to school for sales. I went to school for something else. There's not many sales degrees.
Right.
And I ended up starting a company called MYB2BCOACH because there's a better way to onboard and ramp struggling salespeople and get them to a confident and comfortable level. So that's how I started MYB2BCOACH 2 years ago, which has been an exciting journey since then too, as we've launched it. So that's my brief history of business.
That's great. Thinking back over your career, can you tell us about the person who's had the most impact on your success?
So that's my wife. When she came in and became my integrator early on, it was a huge advantage. I'm a sales guy at heart, so don't let salespeople run both the inventory and the accounting. It's not a good option. A couple other people, the entrepreneurs organization as a whole, couple of great mentors. Dr. Bell was a very interesting one when it came to sales, actually, out of UNC. And a gentleman named Terry Slattery was another great sales trainer and salesperson that made a big difference when it comes to sales. When it came to just pure mentoring, I was lucky to be surrounded by really smart people in an accountability group for 10 years. That would hold me accountable. They were entrepreneurial friends of mine.
That's great. Thinking back to your time in your start in sales, you mentioned a little bit ago, what do you wish you were taught when you got that first job in sales?
I wish I was taught to practice a little more. It really does make a difference. I wish I was taught to listen more, and to listen from nothing is one of my big things that I learned. That was from Dr. Bell. It's amazing if you just ask smart questions and don't worry whether or not you're going to get the sale. Just do the right thing. You will get more sales than you dreamed of.
Yeah. Now you have a blog post titled Power in Silence. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. The power of silence is incredible. When we kind of prelude to the other thing, we use our AI software and we record people. Often you can tell that the wheels are turning all the time in our salespeople, and mine too. So what was happening is they're not really listening from nothing, or that power of silence. Like, it's okay to be still in sales. It's okay not to be speaking. And it's really okay not to be thinking, because you really just want to engage and listen. Young children do this really, really well when they're watching their favorite show. They lean forward, they are engaged. Even if you walk in front of them, they just slightly go, they don't miss a beat. Unfortunately, we've all been trained to think about the next thing we're going to say. And that hurts us from listening. If the person says something, And then you're thinking, okay, that's good. I got to sell him the blue one. That's going to solve that problem. I'm thinking about that. Those next 10 to 15 words, you're missing out on the really deep meaning. He doesn't want the blue one. He wants 5 dozen blue ones. Right. And you've missed out because you already were engaged in your next thought process. So it's just really that power of silence and understanding that silence matters. We want people only talking 25 to 35% of the time, truly listening for the other one to be able to ask great questions.
What does someone considering their first sales leadership position need to understand?
Sales leadership and sales are very different games.
Yeah.
I mean, exceptionally different games. We've all heard the adage, don't ever promote your best salesperson into a sales leader. Some people want promotions because they think it's the right thing to do in their life. Salespeople should make more than the sales manager if they're really good at sales. So if they're thinking about sales, do you like coaching? Do you like listening? Do you like holding people accountable for goals? So first of all, do you like that? Are you a natural leader? Often you'll see it in whether it's in sports or in some other thing growing up, they were the natural leader. And then once if they identify themselves as that, they wanted to call the plays, great. If they don't though, and they're like, hey, I just want to be the hero that catches the ball and spikes it in the end zone, be a salesperson.
Right.
That's the role, right? And the coach should be a little bit behind the scenes. They shouldn't be the one spiking the ball in the end zone. So,
right.
And I'd also recommend any new sales leader. There's a few books I would recommend right off the top.
What are those books?
The Coaching Habit by a strange name. It's called Box of Crayons is the company. So if you look it up on Amazon, but The Coaching Habit has some just really good, smart how to coach people to set their own goals, which is a lot easier to hold them accountable for their own goals. Mm-hmm. And then there's another by Bob Rosen called Kiss Theory Goodbye. He does a really nice job of, again, we want to set it up so your job is to coach and develop people as a sales leader and hold them accountable. And it's a lot easier if they're setting their own goals to reach for their own goals than you micromanaging them down. I unfortunately did it early on, like you have to make 50 calls and we have to do this. Well, I had one guy that could get 10 meetings in 5 calls. I mean, he got references to everything else. Right. He didn't need to make 50 calls. And other people had to make 50 calls. So what was the outcome I was looking for? What are the goals? And go from there.
What do you think the first thing a person stepping into a sales leadership role should do?
I personally like it if you can get, we call them APQs. It's an assessment tool to understand each person's unique way that they probably should be managed and not try to manage everyone similarly. People have different personality types and we need to understand what those are. Then I would use our motivation checklist to make sure that people, what motivates people. Everyone says money. It is rarely money, rarely money. Understanding what motivates that person so you can paint the picture of what winning looks like. I am a big believer. There's goals and metrics and KPIs and OKRs and rocks and all these terms out there. They're all fantastic and all those tools are great. If you can define what winning looks like for the team and what winning looks like for an individual in their own words, they want to win.
Yeah.
They want to win individually and they want to win for the team. One of the most unfair things that I see people do in sales, but also in leadership, and I use this analogy a lot when I do my facilitations, is take a kid, 8 years old, 10 years old, bring him onto a field, put a ball down of any kind, I don't care. But it's a field that doesn't have any soccer nets, it doesn't have any goalposts, it's just a field. Mm-hmm. And just look at him and say, Chris, I need you to win for me. They look around and you're like, come on, man, win for me.
Right.
And they're like, what? And you keep yelling at your 8-year-old because they're not winning. You gave them no tools. They don't know what the game plan is. They don't know what winning looks like. And I see it so often in sales that these people are like, well, they just need to go close sales. Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
We got to give them a game plan with metrics and milestones of what winning looks like. Hey, we want you to move past the 50-yard line this next week. We need you to do it by this method, right? But there's some leeway in there. We're just the bumpers. We're keeping you on the field as leaders. So you can't run off the field. But we're keeping you on the field, but we're giving you a lot of leeway inside that field. But that's that. We want you to have 10 meetings. That's what winning looks like this first 60 or 90 days of a new salesperson. You don't have to close a sale. We need you to work on getting meetings.
Right.
We can close them for you. And then so on down the football field as a football analogy.
Yep.
So what winning looks like.
And one of the questions I like to ask sales leaders when they're on the show is, how do you define success for yourself and your team beyond just sales? So when you're coaching a sales leader, can you expand on that? I mean, you've kind of started down that path, but do you give them concrete examples around defining success? Because I think it is so important you get caught up in total sales or whatever, but there are other things that contribute to that. Do you agree with that or not?
Well, yeah, there's other things. I mean, watching people's skill development can be a huge win, and it's a nice stepping stone, whether that's from the skills we work with on our AI software to public speaking skills to having them go through like writing better proposals. Unfortunately, people aren't very good at it. So you can really work on some skill things. Winning for me is always watching a teammate win, right? I mean, there's somebody I'm coaching win. Like we had a great story of a gentleman, unfortunately, wife going through cancer. He was struggling in sales, and we got to help him go up, and he started making about another $700 a week on his commission over our 10-week program. And he wrote us a sweet letter just on how much that changed his financial situation because of the struggles they've been having with their family. That's worth everything.
Yep.
You know, and this isn't a sales guy that's selling $1 million a year. This is a guy that's selling $700 items and was only selling 5 a week, and now is selling 15 a week and making a nice little commission on it.
Yep.
I mean, that's as good as it gets for me, is winning when it comes down to it. So understand, I like the term winning for sales and what it means, but yeah, there's more than watching growth of people, understanding you're going to have if you're running a team of 10 or 15 or 50, there's going to be 5 or 10 of those that have the, 5 or 10% or 20% that they have the it factor. They have that charisma and confidence, and they can sell anything and they're impressive at it. But those are few and far between. It's when you work with the other people so they build that confidence and get that skill set, to me, that is the best part. And then when the whole team wins, because I always wanted to paint the picture. I had a lot of warehouse team, and I always wanted to paint the picture to my sales team, who are highly commissioned and could make some big money. Hey, if we hit this level, everyone in the warehouse is going to get a $500 bonus, and they're all making $12 an hour. Yeah, that was better.
Yeah.
Right. So,
can you talk about your AI software? I'm sure when you guys sat down and designed this, you were targeting on specific areas to have an impact on. Can you talk about those areas and what advantages your customers get from working with this platform?
Sure. So this all actually, when I started researching what's the best way to learn, it all came down to this thing called deliberate practice. You can Google the book. There's a great book on it. I forgot the name of the book. Google deliberate practice. What's the best way for people to develop a skill? So first of all, there's a difference between knowledge and a skill, right? Like I technically have the knowledge to play piano. I know what the keys are, and I know kind of how they all work, and I know my different things. But I have zero skill in playing piano, right? And same with like my golf game, and this is where the AI software came in. I'm a golfer. I went to a place called Golf Tech. There's any of these simulation places are like this now, where what they've realized is if you get hooked up, you do your swing, you watch your swing on a video, then all this software kicks in and says, hey, by the way, your plane is wrong and you're swinging outside in. I can adjust a lot quicker by just using that. And then when the coach says, by the way, this is how you adjust, you need to think like this, I can adjust even faster.
Right.
And that's called deliberate practice. You actually do the exercise, you watch yourself do the exercise, you get a support mechanism through AI software or smart software, and you have a professional coach. So when I did the company, Our AI software is all going to measure all these key things, starting with the speed we talk. I speak at 247 words per minute. They have proven 110 to 150 is the best sales pace. And it's not for the obvious reasons, but the real reason is if I speak at that rate, it gives your brain time to think. And if you can think, you'll ask better questions of me. Then as long as I'm good at what I do, I'll answer smart to your better questions. It'll start creating a confidence loop in both of us, right. And we get it. So that's one thing it measures. Talk time versus listening time, quality of open-ended switches. So not getting yes, no. Don't tell me the score of the game last night. Tell me what happened in the game last night. So we get more deep. All the triggering for next steps or stall words like, well, yeah, go ahead, send me a proposal. We'll work with that's a trigger. Send me a proposal is most often a stall. So if Chris really said that to me and said, hey, send me, oh yeah, John, that sounds fantastic. Send me a proposal. I go, great, I'll get that to you. We'll probably take 5 to 10 hours our time to get it right for you based on our conversation. Now, what's going to happen when I get it, send it over to you in email next? Because you heard a couple of things. One is, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to put John through 5 to 10 hours of work. Well, if I'm just trying to blow you off, I'm just trying to get you off the phone, I don't want to put you through 5 to 10 hours of work. Right. So most people aren't going to do that. But we can catch all those little trigger and key moments. Or I'm going to have to go meet my team. Oh, who else is on your team? Now you just started to network through. Yep. Oh, Bob's on your team? What's Bob? Oh, he's the CFO. Oh, I don't never want to put you in a position, Christopher, to have to answer questions that we never spoke about. So what kind of questions does Bob normally ask?
Yeah, and then, that's great.
Yeah, and then if Bob's like, well, maybe it'd be easier if I was just at the meeting so I can answer all of Bob and Mary and Sue's questions for you.
Right.
Did you want to be at that next meeting after the meeting?
Yes.
So the AI lets us pick up on all these things. The other thing it picks up on is all of our filler words. And we have a lot of them. I would say it's in the Midwest, but it's all over the place. The word just has become very common to use. I'm just going to get your proposal. I'm just going to follow up with you. I just want to see how things were going, right? That makes it less confident. So the difference between, hey, Chris, I'm just going to get you a proposal versus, Chris, I'm going to get you a proposal. Yep. Just that difference in language makes it go there. So we eliminate the words, and it's painful the first time you watch and you realize in a 3-minute thing you use the word just 17 times. You're like, yeah. Come on. So the AI works on those skill sets. We also can listen in and hear for some buying signals that people tend to miss. It'll pick up some of the key signals there, but taking people through from the prospecting to leaving a good voicemail, we start with that, to the scariest moment in cold call sales or Zoom is when somebody actually answers. Yeah. We need you to get down. The 3 things we need everyone to get down is, what do you do? How much do you cost? And please have an answer that isn't, it can be anything. And then how much or why you over the competition. Right. We hear people ramble and kind of if and out. No, just give a really specific answer.
Yep. That's great.
Makes a lot of sense. So the AI software is a really huge tool as part of the coaching.
Oh yeah, it's critical. Your golf tech analogy is spot on. I'm a customer at golf tech, and being able to see and get that coaching at the same time, it has way more impact than somebody just talking at you.
Yes.
It's a totally different experience. What are some of the common mistakes you think people transitioning into a sales leadership role make?
They still try to be a salesperson. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the difference.
Right.
They want to be the hero for all their salespeople. I played that role for probably 5 years in my first sales leadership role in my own company. Salesperson wasn't doing a good job on a close or listening or whatever. I'd be like, oh, whoa, I'm not going to lose the sale. And I'd jump in and be the hero and still give them the commission. That did not do anything to develop my sales team. So right. Try not to be the hero. Let people fail. I mean, obviously give them a whole bunch of prospects that aren't as important to fail on first. Don't give them your top 10 accounts you want to land. Let's not have them fail on those ones.
Right.
Pick some small ones. By the way, for all new hires too, please, 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 the first 2 weeks they're on board with you, they only can learn about your company, all aspects of your company, whatever product or service you offer. Everyone's like, oh, but I can go sell this to my uncle or somebody else from my old business. And on day 2, they want to prove that they can sell. The problem is then you let them go after that because they do actually close that one and you're super excited. And then that was because it was their best buddy friend that they could just go close. Had nothing to do with your product or service and their knowledge base of it.
Right.
Then they go fail the next 10 in a row, the next 3 weeks, and now their confidence has dropped off a cliff.
Yeah. How do you combat that? How do you keep that, pull the reins back, keep them under control to where they're really ready to sell?
We have a very detailed first 20-day onboarding plan that we recommend. I mean, not quite to the hour, but about 4 things a day that we expect. So day 1 is like getting the laptops and getting all that and meeting the whole team. Simple onboarding things like if you're coming into an office, a little different now, but like, where's the toilet paper? Where's the supplies? Where's all the basic stuff that is nice to know where it is? Sounds silly, but it's nice to know.
Yeah.
But then we want them to meet accounting and spend stuff. When I owned Offwire, they would spend time in accounting and learn what frustrates the accounting department about what salespeople do. Mm-hmm. They would talk to marketing for a day. They'd go hang out in their meetings. They would go back to the warehouse and actually pack for 2 days. And they're like, what? I'm going to have to pack? I go, yeah, because whatever you do on the front end, they have to execute on the back end. So I want you to really understand what it feels like to pack orders. So I literally had them sit through every department, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 2 days for the first 10 days. They had a great understanding of the whole business and much quicker versus once you set them free on sales, they're like, oh, I don't have time to go pack or go fit in accounting. So those first 2 weeks are really critical. The next 2 weeks is still a lot of training and onboarding.
Do you have any advice for someone who's considering a sales leadership role, what they should look for in terms of, that decision process? Should I take this or should I wait? Maybe look for something else?
You mean to become a sales leader?
Yeah, to become a sales leader. If they're, they've never done it before, they're considering, maybe switching to a new company where they can have that position. What are the things they should look for? Because it is so different from, as you're saying, from being a salesperson. Being a sales leader is totally different.
Yeah, I would ask. If I was going to another company, I'd ask first: is my expectation to be a player coach or just a coach? Just make sure we get that expectation. It's all very common. People want player coaches. I would always ask that next boss if that's going to be a situation in there. Then, so if I'm really good at going and closing sales, how would you like me to divide up my time? If me just being a player and going after whales, would double your income to go in the first 6 months. And
right.
Well, we'll just go double the income. Well, it sounds like you're actually hiring me for sales then, not sales leader. Right. So I want them to understand what role they're about to get into. Right. Or am I truly a coach of that 8 or 10 or 15 people where my job is to get them to be superstars, them to go out and close the business.
Right.
Because that's what I really like to see in pure sales coaches, that it's about the people, not about them.
Right. What should they look for? I think one of the key aspects of being a leader is identifying those people within your team that also could advance into that aspect of a sales career. What should they be looking for? What should they be doing to cultivate talent, leadership talent?
Yeah. Looking for the lead. So,
John, I think we're having some audio.
It could be 2 years. Right?
Looks like we had some audio issues there. Do you mind repeating your answer there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, leaders just tend to lead. So just watch it. Whether you hire a 22-year-old or somebody new that's come in, see who's naturally leading. I love if you can tell if they have curiosity. So they do start asking questions of, like, why do we do it this way? Why haven't we thought about it this way? They're naturally inquisitive about the world around them. The leaders are like, oh, I've been paying attention to the competition. I've been paying attention to new product launches that are kind of close to us or services. They're listening to their customers in a unique way and asking, that's a leader. Right. They're not a tactical doer. So anytime you watch somebody there, you want to cultivate them. I highly recommend giving them different books to read. I think that's see if they're naturally engaged to learn, because a leader needs to continue to learn about the whole industry and the whole world. And they have to start understanding some psychology to be a leader. And identify them and let them move up and take some supervisory roles, or give them 1 or 2 people under their wing to start moving them up. You want to get those, if they're a great leader, you want to harness them and run with them. And I always say it's easier to pull back the reins on somebody great than it is to, whip on somebody who's not so good.
That's right. That's well said. That's well said. Do you have just like a crazy story from your sales career, the kind of story where you're sitting around with all your friends and everyone's swapping crazy stories about their, do you have a crazy story?
One of my more crazy ones, I was going down to do a sales training in St. Louis, last flight out of Omaha that evening, had my duffel bag of about 40 people coming to the training at the Marriott St. Louis. They did not get my bag onto plane. So when I landed in St. Louis, they're like, don't have it. I'm like, seriously, it's a direct flight. Like, you just left my bag. I was checked in an hour early. They just left it. Right. So I get there, I get to St. Louis. They tell me that. They're like, how can we help? I'm like, I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. It was summertime, flip-flops. And my meeting started at 8 a.m. I'm like, okay. So the day went something like that. I woke up, went to the Marriott gift store. The St. Louis Cardinals were pretty popular. They always are popular in St. Louis. Luckily, they had my size. I'm a big guy. They had a jersey I could buy. So I got myself a baseball jersey. Yep. Still had my shorts and my flip-flops on.
But you're playing to the audience, though, a little bit, right?
The what?
You're playing to the audience a little bit, right?
Yeah, I did get to play to the audience there. Yep. But, I mean, I walk in. I got flip-flops, shorts, a jersey on, and I kept the hotel person up all night because they just had a basic copying machine, and I had like 40-page training guides, times 40 people that I have to make 1,600 copies. I mean, I didn't get to the hotel till 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to use your copier. And they're like, well, it's back in our office. I'm like, well, somebody has to start copying.
We're going to be up a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it was a great story of, a great story of getting through a situation that happens in sales and sales training and making the best of it. Yeah. You know what? Being human is really good for sales.
Oh, yeah.
Being authentically human. Stuff happens.
Yep.
We went through the day. It was a great day. I just made it through the day, and it was really a lot of fun. So I want people, the goal is not to know everything. The goal is not to show that you're the smartest cat in the room. The goal is to ask really smart questions, listen, and if there's a good fit, your solution is a good fit, keep, say, hey, I think this might be a good fit. Well, here's some next steps. And if it's not a good fit, go, you know what? I don't think our solution's a good fit for what's going on. It was just a pleasure to meet you and talk with you.
Yep.
Move on. That's all good.
Yep. That's great. Let's talk a little bit about CRM.
Okay.
I asked this question of everybody. CRM, do you love it or do you hate it?
Personally, as a salesperson, I am not a big CRM fan, which is
appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, no problem. And I get your thing. The power of it is amazing. I tend to go after more whale hunting in my world, luckily. And so I don't need a crazy, and I've never been in a marketing driven or a big lead generator business. Now, a lot of my clients have to be in the CRM world because it is absolutely critical. It's the only way you can pay attention to so many leads. It's the only way you can really go after what they are. So I am 100% believer in CRM as based on the business. If it's we have an engineering firm that we work with, and I'll just show that, and they do have a CRM, but really they're only 10 clients are trying to go after total.
Yeah.
Because they're $5 to $20 million a piece.
Right.
We don't need I know you're in the CRM business. We don't need a robust CRM to go after 10 clients.
How long is their sales cycle? Is it a long one?
6 months to 2 years.
Yeah. See, I think I would argue that if it's that long of a sales cycle, it's important to have a CRM to really manage all the communications going back and forth, and especially usually something like that, your team selling environments, it's critical to have CRM to support those.
Yes, if you're doing it that way. Yeah, I agree with you there too. My other clients, from a marketing clients to, where we're trying to land, 50 different clients a month or a week, depending on the size of the team, they have to have a CRM to pay attention. It's the best metric and the best way to manage upstream. And what I mean by upstream is, again, for me, my goal is to have, 10 closes a month at this many dollars. If somebody's hitting 15 or 20, I'm probably never going to ask backwards what they were doing. Right. The person that's only hitting 5. Yeah. The CRM, that doesn't only help me, it protects them. Right. Because if I can see that they're doing the work and I can see that they're making the calls, then I can say, hey, let's coach you to get better at these.
That's right.
Versus if you don't have any of that data and they just assume. Yeah, we just assume. And we had a gentleman that unfortunately, it ended up exiting him after 6 months, one of my clients, because he wouldn't put stuff in the CRM. Right. Because he really wasn't doing the work. Right. So it's a powerful. And by the way, they're only getting better.
Oh, yeah.
The CRMs.
Yeah. Night and day from where it was when we started in this business back in 2007 to where they are today. It's mind-boggling the pace of advancement. It's especially over the last 3 years. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah. So really smart things you can do with them.
Yeah.
I love it.
So John, we're right about our time limit here. How can people, if they want to get in touch with you and connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Email or LinkedIn. So John at MYB2BCOACH.com is my email, or you can look up John W. Lund on LinkedIn. A lot of people connect me through LinkedIn now.
That's awesome.
MYB2B Coach. We also have a great subscription on YouTube for a whole bunch of little 5-tip videos from a bunch of my friends that share some great tips for anyone in the leadership role of any type of company. A lot of people connect through that as well.
Yeah, I can vouch for those. I've watched them. They're terrific. Thank you very much for sharing your insight today. It's been absolutely terrific having you on Sales Lead Dog.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet.
As we end this discussion on Sales Lead Dog, be sure to subscribe to catch all our episodes. On social media, follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Watch the videos on YouTube, and you can also find our episodes on our website at impellercrm.com/Sales Lead Dog. Sales Lead Dog is supported by Impeller CRM, delivering objectively better CRM for business, guaranteed.